Heart at the Hazbin Hotel, Chapter 13. Hart tries to go back to the hotel. How will this turn out? Guess we'll see. Chapter 13. A Dragon's Wrath. Hart's point of view. I slowly opened my eyes after I had slept what felt like forever and looked around my room. I looked down beside me and saw the doll Alistair gave me. It was still wrapped in one of my arms. My phone still sat on the pillow next to me. I woke up feeling okay, but I knew things were not. My memories of last night slowly started to creep back to me. A few tears fell and I held the doll close to me again. My ears were flat against my head. "Alistair, I hope you come back to me soon," I whispered. As I laid there in bed, I slowly started to think about things. Alistair said he would return before the next extermination. That gave me almost a year to get my things straight. Even so, not having him around hurt me so much. Why did he have to go? It made me sad and angry at the same time. Then I remembered I had to go back to the hotel today. But could I really do that? Everything there will remind me of him. I don't know if I can handle it. There was only one way I was going to find out. I got up out of bed and stretched for a moment. I went to my bag that I had brought with me and rearranged everything so that I could fix it up okay. I made sure I had everything as well. I walked out of the room to find Lizzie. Luckily, I found her on the couch still asleep. I walked up to her and shook her shoulder. "Lizzie." Lizzie shot up straight in surprise. I'm up! I promise!" She opened her eyes fully and looked up at me. "Hart? How are you doing?" I frowned and looked away from her. "Not good. I could be better," I told her as I rubbed my arm and laid my ears against my head. "Are you sure you want to go back to the hotel?" Lizzie asked, tilting one of her ears. "No, I'm not, but I'm still going to. I need to see how I will be while I'm there," I explained. Lizzie sighed and stood up. "Well, I'll make breakfast, if you'd like, and we can head on our way." I nodded. "That sounds good." Lizzie gave me a small smile. "Want me to make your favorite?" I smiled and my ears stood back up. "Pancakes?" "Yes, please. Might make me feel a little better." "Sounds good." Lizzie got up and headed to the kitchen. I went back to my room and sat on my bed. I took the doll and brought it to my chest. I put my ears down. I picked up my phone and plugged it in so I would charge. I saw my screen light up. Alistair. I'll never change my lock screen now. I needed ways to see him. I didn't know how long I stayed like that, but I heard a knock on my door. "Come in," I said, putting my phone down on the bedside table and my ears perked up. Lizzie then walked inside. "Breakfast is done. Come and get it when you can." "Thanks. I'll be out soon," I told her. Lizzie nodded and then closed the door, but left it ajar. I sighed and just hugged my doll one more time. I got up out of bed and gently put the doll back against my pillow. I walked out of my room and headed to the kitchen. I walked in and saw a pile of pancakes in the middle of the table. Lizzie was already sitting down eating. Lizzie swallowed her mouthful. "I made 'em just the way you like 'em." I sat down at the table and noticed that there were chocolate chips in the pancakes. My sister knew me too well. I smiled at her. "Thank you, Lizzie." Yeah, shut up and eat," Lizzie told me as she took another bite. I didn't have to be told twice as I grabbed 2 pancakes and started to eat. Halfway through, Lizzie said to me, "Hart, I called Charlie. I asked her to come pick you up so that we can go back to the hotel in her car. That way you don't have to walk." "Lizzie, you didn't have to do that," I said to her after I swallowed. "I wanted to. I thought it would be nice. Something different," Lizzie said. "Will you come with me?" I asked her. "Do you want me to?" "Please, just in case." "In case of what?" I paused and looked down for a moment. "In case I break down or lose it while I'm there." "Okay, I'll come with you. But I still don't enjoy cars." "Yeah, I know, but I just want you around right now." Lizzie reached across the table and grabbed my hand. I'm not going anywhere, sister. I looked up at her with a smile. Thank you. We finished eating, and I helped Lizzie clean up the kitchen. Since when do you help around the kitchen? You always made that my job, Lizzie said with her ears up as she picked up a plate to wash it. I'm just used to it now. I helped Alistair in the kitchen, I answered as I wiped the plate clean. Oh yeah? You told me how he was a really good cook and stuff. Lizzie put the dish in the drying rack. Yeah, he always made amazing stuff. Better than Mom ever could, I said with a laugh. Lizzie laughed too. Mom was always bad at cooking. We both started to laugh. There was a knock at the door. I'll get it. I put the towel down and headed to the door. I opened it and saw Charlie and Vaggie standing there in the doorway. Hey, Charlie, Vaggie, it's good to see you, I greeted and hugged the princess with my tail wagging. Good to see you too, Heart. Charlie hugged me back. I pulled out of the hug. Want to come in for a little bit? Sure, but just for a little bit, Charlie answered and walked inside with Vaggie behind her. I led them to the couch and gestured for them to sit. Me and Lizzie just got done eating. I'll make sure I have all the stuff together before we head back, I told them. Charlie waved me off. Take your time. It'll be okay. Charlie looked like something was on her mind. She was probably worried about me. To be honest, I looked okay, but inside, my heart was still shattered into pieces. I wanted to hide it, but I don't know for how long I would be able to. I knew that once I got to the hotel, I'd probably break down, but I still wanted to try. I had my mixed emotions of anger and sadness, fighting each other over all this still. I walked to my room and made sure I had everything back in my bag. Double-checked everything. I looked to my box in the closet. I still had it pulled out. I let out a growl of frustration and pushed the box back into the closet and started to cover up with anything I could. Stupid shit is what got me in this mess. I went to the bedside table and grabbed my phone and my charger. I looked on my phone again, looking at Alistair on my lock screen. Then the screen went black. I put it back in my pocket and grabbed my doll on the bed. I held it in my hands a moment and then pulled it close to me. I walked out of the room and back into the living room where everyone sat. Lizzie was done washing dishes, so she was talking to Charlie and Vaggie. Charlie looked at me and then looked at the doll in my hands. I'm glad he gave that to you before he left. I didn't know what his intentions were until afterwards when we made them. I looked down at the doll. It's the only thing I have left. I just wish he didn't give it to me then. I would have preferred before all of this. Charlie looked at me sadly. Heart, are you sure you're going to be okay coming back to the hotel? I shook my head with my ears flat. To be honest, no. But I'll see how I feel after I get there. Charlie stood up and walked over to me and put a hand on my shoulder. Heart, I'll understand if you don't want to be at the hotel for a little while. Once we get there, just let me know. I won't force you to stay. I had a few tears fill the corners of my eyes. Thank you, Charlie. She nodded. All right then, let's get back. We all headed out the door and into the car waiting outside. We all piled into the large back seat and then the car took off. I stayed silent as we drove. I kept the Alistair doll close to my chest. I looked out the window of the city. I started to hate it again. I didn't want to deal with it. Just the shithole that it was. We drove by the clock tower. The countdown to the next extermination. 358 days, it said. I think that's the time I'll give myself. If he doesn't come back before it was time, I think I'll just take myself out on the town. Get cut down. What was the point of going to heaven anymore? I was better off in a void. Hopefully I didn't remember things. Alistair was my heaven, and he was gone. If he didn't come back, it just showed that maybe he never did care for me. I still love him either way. Too bad I won't be able to show it to him one last time. For now, though, I had to try and be my best I could be. Live how I want, until the day comes. Part of me just hoped that it didn't come down to it. Soon we arrived at the hotel, and we all got out of the car. I stood there looking up at the building. It felt like it was towering over me, mocking me. My heart started to beat faster, and I felt frozen in place. Why couldn't I walk towards it? What was stopping me? I got out of my thoughts when I felt a hand on my back. I looked to see Lizzie, and she just gave me a small smile. I gave a breath and slowly walked forward and into the open door that Charlie held for me. I walked into the lobby. I saw Angel Dust and Husk at the bar. They were talking, or at least trying to have a normal conversation. Angel Dust laughed as something Husk said, and then turned to the doors to see us. He slowly let his laugh die and just looked at me. You could tell that he was upset by Alistair's absence as well. I knew the spider demon liked him, but I'm sure he knew how hard I was taking it as well. I looked around for a moment. No one said anything to me. They probably wanted to give me some space. I was fine with that, because that's what I wanted. I wanted to be lost in my thoughts, in my memories, by myself, alone. I looked at the kitchen door. My mind flashed to bunches of things that happened there. I had a lot of bonding times with Alistair. He even taught me how to cook a lot more things that I never knew how to or thought of. It was always something fun. He would always wrap his arms around me as I tried to stir things together in the pot, laying his head on top of mine. Those moments were nice, content, safe. I gripped the strap of my bag tight, made me wonder if he actually enjoyed those moments, that I was just a nuisance to him, in the way all the time. My eyes went to the couch in front of the fireplace. I remember the long nights I had there with Alistair as he read a book and I just laid on the couch with him. I'd read some things on my phone, and sometimes I would just look at the fire and just be content at the moment. I'd glance over and see the fire dancing off Alistair's face, and I would just get lost in him. He caught me looking once. All he said was, "It's rude to stare, my love." And he just leaned over and kissed me. Some nights I'd lay my head in his lap and he would pet my head as he read. One time, I remember, I asked him to read some of the story he was reading out loud. It was boring, but the combination of everything put me to sleep. I'd wake up in my bed if I did fall asleep on the couch. Alistair made sure I was always comfortable. I walked over to the steps. I took a moment and looked up the set of stairs. I remember the one time Alistair and I were just being playful and he chased me from his room down the hallway and caught me at the top of the steps. He spun me around in his arms and we both laughed. He held me up in his arms a moment as he leaned in and kissed me quickly before putting me back down. I started to slowly walk up, the memory slowly vanishing as I took each step. My hand gently ran across the railing. I got to the top and looked to my right and down the hallway. I was afraid. The hallway seemed to stretch out in front of me and it almost spun slightly. I held my Alistair dog close to my chest. I was nervous, but I slowly started to walk down the hall. The memory of when I made Alistair kiss Angel came to my mind, and it made me chuckle and smile at the thought. I remember the time Alistair and I just spent one afternoon sitting in the hallway. We just talked, had songs play from his open room door, and we danced a little. We held hands, and it was just a relaxing evening. We had this whole hallway to ourselves. We were the only ones on this floor, so it made it nice. No one could bother us. We were content and together. I kept walking down the hall, and soon I reached Alistair's room. Did I dare go in? Was it even open? Part of me didn't want to, but the other part of me said to do so. I reached for the knob and turned it. It was unlocked. I was surprised. I slowly opened the door and it swung open. His room looked the same. Nothing was moved. I dropped my bag in the hallway and placed my Alistair doll inside it. I walked into the room. I had a lot of memories in this room. I went over to the bed and ran my hand against the sheets. The bed was all made and perfect. My memory of the time I slept in his room during the extermination. I made him board up the windows because I was paranoid, even though he kept telling me it would be fine. Hearing the chaos outside, I laid curled up at his side, holding him tight. He would just pet my head and hold me. He was comforting, and he whispered sweet nothings into my ear when I would tense up. The memory soon faded, and I looked out the window a moment at the city, this disgusting place. I turned back to look at the room. I saw his player was still there. I went over and turned it on. A song automatically started to play.
Come, sweetheart mine, don't sit and pine. Tell me all the cares that make you feel so blue. What have I done? Answer me, hon.
I remember the song. It was one me and Alistair danced to that night we made our feelings clear to each other.
My love is true, and just for you.
The memory of us dancing came into my mind. Tears started to fall down my face.
Dear, when you sigh, or when you cry,
I could almost see the picture of us dancing happening in front of me.
very heart of mine, come to me, my
Why? I whispered as the song played on. Why did you go?
love, and don't be blue. All your fears are foolish fancy made.
I felt my sadness fade away as anger started to take over me. I was angry with Alistair. He left me. Sure, he didn't technically break up with me, but he still left me. For a dumb fucking reason. I didn't want to argue with it. It's like he was overreacting. Was it my fault? I don't think so now. He just couldn't accept what I did that one night and got scared.
You know, dear, that I'm in love with you.
I never liked to tell anyone, but I had another demon form. It was my dragon form. It only happens to me when I lose control of my emotions. I am filled with rage and consumed by it. It started. I felt the black scales start to form on my arms, and my form changing, claws forming and growing on my hands. My horns grew as well as my wings. I felt my clothes start to rip. Unlike my wolf form, that I was feral, in my dragon form, I stood on my two legs and grew in size.
Every cloud must have a silver lining.
Art! I heard my name being called, but my mind had the world blacked out. My rage had everything blinded. All my rage was focused on how Alistair hurt me. I felt used. My emotions toyed with. I heard the song still playing. It then triggered me.
Wait until the sun shines. Smile, my honey dear, while I kiss.
I grabbed the fucking player and yelled as I threw it across the room. I hit the wall so hard it smashed into pieces and hit the ground. The song now stopped playing, the player in pieces. I looked in the large mirror. I walked up to it and punched it, shattering it all to the ground. Third person point of view. Charlie, Vaggie, and Lizzie started up the steps to where Hart had gone. They heard the music playing. They all got worried and realized that she was in Alistair's room. That was the last place they wanted her to be alone. With how emotionally unstable she was through this whole thing, she couldn't be in there alone. As they walked into the hallway, the door to Alistair's room was indeed open, with Hart's bag sitting by the door. "Hart!" Lizzie called. They heard no answer as they slowly walked to the door. They then heard a big crash. Then the music stopped. They looked at each other for a moment and then ran to the room. They then heard something else being smashed. They then got to the doorway. They expected to see Hart, except they saw about a 7-foot-tall black dragon. Shining black scales covered its body, giant horns that curled around its long, pointed ears. It had giant wings that it had folded against its back, spikes going down its back to its long tail, where at the end had a huge spike. Smoke escaped the dragon's nostrils from its long snout. It had dark purple eyes that glowed with what looked like anger. It didn't take notice to them as it spit out fire at the now broken player on the floor, setting it ablaze. All three girls screamed in fear. The dragon turned its gaze to them at the scream. It slowly went up to them and let out a roar. It growled at them. "What is that?" Vaggie screamed. Lizzie stepped forward in front of them. "It's Hart." "What?" Charlie asked in disbelief. Lizzie looked over her shoulder at them. "She has this other form as well, but it's only triggered out of anger." She turned her head back to the dragon. "She has no control over herself either." "What do we do?" Vaggie asked in a panic. Lizzie took a pause and spoke over her shoulder again. "Nothing." Hart slashed a clawed hand at them, and they jumped back from the attack. "Hart, stop this!" Lizzie yelled at her. Hart just roared. She had no control. Speech wasn't a part of her anymore. She swung her tail and smacked Lizzie, sending her flying back against the other side of the hallway. Charlie and Vaggie went to her side. "Lizzie, are you okay?" Charlie asked and tried to help her back up. It's all right. I'll be okay. I have to stop her before she wrecks anything else," Lizzie groaned. Hart went back into the room and went to a dresser and smashed it under her foot. She went to the bedside table and smashed her hand into it. The drawer fell out and onto the floor, and she stepped on it. Lizzie had gone down on all fours and ran into the room and jumped onto Hart's back. "Hart, you have to calm down," Lizzie yelled. She hated hurting her sister right now, but she did because she knew how crazy she could be. She dug her claws into Hart's back. Hart roared in pain and tried to reach Lizzie on her back, but she had no luck when her arms were too short. Lizzie climbed up Hart's back to where she couldn't reach more. "Calm down! You know you can tell me anything, Hart," Lizzie said, trying to get through her sister. "Wrecking Alistair's stuff won't help you." Hart then fell backwards and rolled. Lizzie got pinned under the weight of the dragon and lost her grip. Hart turned to Lizzie on the ground and roared at her and then stomped a foot on her. Lizzie screamed in pain. Charlie and Vaggie didn't know what to do. Charlie wanted to do something. She looked down at the burned items on the floor. She took a piece of wood and threw it at Hart. "Stop it!" Charlie screamed and smacked Hart in the arm. The dragon turned to her. She breathed fire in their direction. They jumped into the hallway out of the way. Hart then felt pain go up her leg as Lizzie had gotten up and bit down on her left leg. She let out a screech. She kicked her leg and threw Lizzie against the wall, and she landed in the pile of glass that was from the mirror. Hart had had enough of them. She walked to the window and punched it out. Glass fell and went everywhere on the floor and out the window. Charlie ran back into the room. "Hart, stop!" The dragon turned to her a moment and just glared at her. She turned back to the city and then jumped out the window. "Hart!" Charlie called out and ran to the window. The Hell Princess watched as Hart flew off. She flapped her wings and glided. Charlie sighed. She wasn't expecting this to happen when she brought Hart back to the hotel. She turned to Lizzie and walked up to her as she was getting up on wobbly paws. She decided just to sit there and got out of her feral form. Vaggie walked over to her as well. Lizzie held her arm. It had a gash in it from the glass of the mirror on the floor. "We have to follow her," Vaggie said. "No, she can't be stopped easily. She has to blow her anger off and calm down." "What if she's getting hurt?" Charlie asked. Lizzie spit and it was all blood. "She'll be okay. She can be pretty strong in her dragon form." "Why did she never tell us about it before?" Vaggie asked as she took her ribbon out of her hair and started to wrap it around Lizzie's wounded arm. Lizzie watched Vaggie as she wrapped up her arm. "She doesn't like people knowing. She never gets angry, though. She's never in it. Even so, she doesn't want people to take advantage of her because of it. She can be wild, aggressive, and sometimes unpredictable, she explained. Maggie tied up the ribbon to hopefully stop the bleeding of Lizzie's arm. So we just sit and wait? Pretty much, Lizzie said with a sigh. Well, let's try and get this stuff cleaned up. My dad will kill me if he finds out this room was like this, Charlie suggested. I'll help you, Lizzie said. No, you sit and rest, Maggie said sternly. Lizzie sighed in annoyance and slowly stood up. You go downstairs and watch over the lobby. Have Angel come up and see if he can find Nifty as well to help us, Charlie told her. Fine. Let me take Hart's stuff to her room first. Lizzie walked it to the doorway and picked up the bag. It's pretty obvious that Hart can't stay here. If she's going to be triggered by anger because of Alistair leaving, it's probably best she wasn't here. She has too many memories here with him. I agree. I don't want to be cleaning up her messes and wrecking the hotel, Maggie said. I'm afraid that you're right, Lizzie. I think Hart should go home with you for now, Charlie agreed. If she doesn't come back to the hotel, I'm going out to look for her, Lizzie told them. It's fine, but please rest first, Charlie told her. Lizzie nodded and then headed to Hart's hotel room. She took out Hart's key from the bag and unlocked the door. She went to the bed and set the bag on it and headed back out of the room. Hart was on a rampage out in the city, and she couldn't do anything about it. Her dragon form was too strong, even for her. Lizzie sighed. It was all Alistair's fault. Next time she saw the deer demon freak, she was going to kick his ass for doing this to her sister. Hart's point of view. I started to turn back into my normal form. My head hurt and was spinning. I landed in an alleyway and landed very poorly. I rolled until I hit a garbage can. My back was already sore from scratches left there, so I was already in pain. I just laid there, trying to recall everything. When I turned in my demon dragon form, I don't remember much of anything. I had flashes of my fight against Lizzie. I hope I didn't hurt her too badly. I'm sure she was back at the hotel. As much as I didn't want to go back, I had to because I didn't want her to be worried about me. I tried to recall what happened next. I remember breaking a window and jumping out of it. After that, everything is a little foggy. I just hope I didn't hurt anyone. Whatever else I did out in the city, it was probably just a normal day for someone. I tried to get up, but I had no strength left in me. I laid back down. I had to wait. My clothes were ripped, and I had left my phone in my bag, so I had no way to contact anyone. I was stuck. I laid there, trying to get up now and then, but was failing. I didn't want to make too much noise. I didn't want to bring attention to myself, especially if I couldn't fight back or get away. I just stopped and thought back of things. I let my anger get the better of me. I knew I shouldn't have. I made a mess of Alistair's room. I feel bad now doing so. I hope he wouldn't get mad at me for breaking his stuff. I must apologize to Charlie and Vaggie as well. I'm sure I scared the shit out of them. I waited about 10 more minutes and then tried to get up. I managed to slowly push myself up and into a sitting position. I tried to use the wall and push myself up. I leaned against the wall to support myself and I tried to get my balance. My leg was still wounded from Lizzie's bite, so I knew I'd walk with a limp for now. I took a breath and slowly made my way down the alleyway. I still leaned against the wall so I could keep balance for myself, then soon reached the end of the alleyway. I looked out into the street and couldn't tell at first where I was. I looked around to see if I knew anything familiar. Then I saw something. It was the restaurant I went during my death anniversary, Giuseppe's. I knew where I was now. I started walking. I walked past the restaurant and looked inside the window to see people singing and dancing, making chit-chat. I also saw a help wanted sign in the window, too. Hopefully no one I was friends with got fired. I liked going there and seeing everybody. I managed to push myself off and walk the way I knew back to the hotel from where I was. I walked through the park and through some busy streets, past some demons that gave me some weird looks. I kept hoping the whole way they wouldn't jump me. I was so used to walking outside with Alistair beside me, intimidating anyone who looked at him or even me. They never bothered us. unless they were drunk and stupid enough. At that point, though, Alistair would just kick the shit out of them. I enjoyed his little torture and rambunctious actions. I always liked seeing his powers in action. I then saw the hotel not far up ahead. My ears perked up. I was almost there. I just hoped Lizzie was still waiting for me. I soon got up to the door and was just about to knock, but I heard yelling on the other side. I wasn't sure what anyone was saying. The door swung open. My ears went back in surprise. It was Lizzie, but she wasn't looking at me because she was looking at Vaggie, who stood back behind her. Lizzie was yelling at her. "She's my sister! I have to go look for her!" Pointing at the moth demon girl. I smiled and felt my tail wag. "I'm right here, Lizzie." The wolf girl jumped in surprise and then turned to me. I was surprised when she jumped at me, wrapping me in a hug. I wrapped my arms around her. "Oh God, Heart, I'm so glad you're okay," Lizzie said with a sigh of relief. "I'm okay. I'm glad you thought of me." We pulled away from the hug, and I looked down and saw her bandaged up arm. "Lizzie, oh my God, did I do that to you? I'm so sorry," I apologized. Lizzie waved me off. "Don't worry, Heart. You've done worse to me." I looked down and away in shame, my ears down in sadness. I don't want to hurt anybody. Lizzie placed her good hand on my shoulder. "It's okay, Heart. I know it's hard for you to control yourself in your demon dragon form." I looked up and saw Charlie walk up next to Vaggie. I walked past Lizzie and bowed to Charlie with my hands together. "Charlie, Vaggie, I'm so sorry for the damage I caused." "Heart, it's okay. I can understand that you're going through a hard time right now," Charlie said to me. I stood up straight but kept my gaze to the floor. I don't know what came over me. I was just so overwhelmed with anger. Charlie walked up to me and wrapped me in a hug. I hugged her back. "You have mixed emotions of sadness and anger. That's totally fine to feel those things right now." She pulled out of the hug, but kept her hands on my arms. "After all you and Alistair did together, I'm sure your memories just made you realize how much you miss him, questioning his actions as well during those times." I nodded. "I don't know if I can stay here, Charlie. Not after everything that happened. He made this place feel like home. It made me feel safe. It makes me feel complete. We made so many memories." I looked up and looked past Charlie into the main lobby. Now my memories are just coming back to haunt me. Charlie frowned slightly. "Let's let everything calm down for now. Play stuff by ear, then hopefully soon you can come back. We'll always have your room ready for you," Charlie said with a smile. I smiled back at the demon princess. "Thank you, Charlie. You're an amazing person." Charlie rubbed my arms. "Maybe you should go back with Lizzie for right now. We can try and get some of your stuff together if you'd like." "That'd be nice of you." I backed away from her. "I think it'd be best if I wait here or outside. I don't want to cause any more trouble." "We understand. Just wait here. I'll be back in a moment," Charlie said and turned to walk towards the stairs. Vaggie followed her. I stood at the doorway with Lizzie, but I saw Angel Dust get up from the bar and walk over to me. "Angel, I think I'll actually miss seeing you every day," I told him as he walked up to us, my tail wagging. "To be honest, I'll miss you being around, kid," Angel said as he got up to us. "I have something for you, but you don't have to take it if it makes you uncomfortable." Angel reached into his chest fluff and pulled out what looked like a few pictures. "I helped Nifty clean up Al's room. I found these in the rubble of the bedside table. I figured you could hold on to them if you want." He handed them out to me. I slowly took them and looked to see that they were indeed pictures. There were only 3. They all seemed to be a little ruined. They were bent and crinkled, and probably thanks to me. I looked at the one in the front, and it was just a picture of my face as I smiled. I put that one behind and looked at the next. It was another picture of me, but it was me asleep on the couch. I flipped to the last one. It was of me and Alistair. It looks like it was taken mid-conversation as me and him sat on the bench in a park nearby. I remember that day. We went to the park just to have a nice relaxing evening away from the hotel. I smiled at the pictures. How did he get these? Why did he have them? Maybe he truly did care. I had a smile, but I didn't realize it till now. "Thanks, Angel. I think I'll hold on to them." Angel nodded. "I can tell from those that he truly did love you. You should be grateful. It will be weird not having Al here either. Hopefully he comes back, Angel said with a small sadness in his voice. I put the pictures close to me and looked away. Me too. Charlie soon came back and she had a bag in hand. Angel, you better not be doing anything to her. Nah, babe, I was just saying my goodbyes, Angel answered. He waved one last time to me and walked away. I gave a wave as well. Charlie handed my bag to me. I put some new pairs of clothes in there as well as some other stuff. Is my... Charlie cut me off. Yes, Alistair's doll is in there. I made sure, she told me with a smile. I let out a sigh of relief. Thank you. I'll be back for more probably. Lizzie walked up to me. No, you aren't coming back here. I'll come back and get more of your stuff, but you are staying home. I looked over her and put my ears down. I guess that would be best. I looked at Charlie. Will you guys come visit me at least? Of course we will, Charlie answered. I nodded in thanks. Lizzie put an arm around me. Come on, sis. Let's head home, Lizzie said to me. Well, see you guys. Again, I'm sorry for all this, I said. It's okay, Heart. We forgive you, Charlie said and gave me one last hug. We waved one last time and walked out. Lizzie lit a cigarette as we walked up the sidewalk. As we got to the corner, I stopped and looked back. The place I came to find home, I had to leave behind. One day I plan to go back. I hope. End of chapter 13. No, the story's not over yet. I still have plans, so stay tuned. Until next time, guys.